What happens when America's sweetheart sits down for what should be a lighthearted chat and things spiral completely out of control? Today, we're breaking down the moment Reese Witherspoon walked off Kelly Clarkson's show after an exchange that left everyone in the studio stunned. The tension, the words exchanged, the exact moment it all fell apart. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because you're going to want to discuss this one. Trust me. So let's set the scene. Reese Witherspoon arrives at the Kelly Clarkson Show studio, all smiles, ready to promote her latest project. The audience is buzzing with excitement. Kelly comes out with her usual warmth and energy, and everything seems perfectly normal. They exchange pleasantries, talk about the weather, laugh about Kelly's kids doing something cute that morning, standard daytime television fare. But underneath that surface, there's something different today. You can almost feel it if you watch closely enough. The energy is just slightly off. Kelly starts the interview with a compliment about Reese's recent work, and Reese thanks her graciously. They're both professionals, both beloved figures in entertainment, and initially everything is going exactly as planned. The audience is engaged, laughing at the right moments, applauding when prompted. But then Kelly shifts gears. She brings up a topic that clearly wasn't in the pre-interview discussion. You can see it in Reese's face, that micro-expression that flashes across before she composes herself. Something about the way Kelly phrases the question, the tone she uses. It's different from her usual approach. Kelly says, "So, Reese, there's been a lot of conversation lately about authenticity in Hollywood, about people presenting one version of themselves publicly and being entirely different privately. You've built this whole brand around being relatable, being this down-to-earth Southern belle who just happens to be a massive star. How much of that is real and how much is carefully constructed?" The audience goes quiet. This isn't the Kelly Clarkson they're used to. This is pointed, almost confrontational. Reese shifts in her seat, and you can see her recalculating in real time. She responds with a practiced smile. "Well, Kelly, I think we all have public and private selves to some degree. But I've always tried to be genuine with my fans, with the people who support my work. What you see is what you get." Kelly doesn't let it drop, though. She leans forward slightly, and there's something in her expression that suggests she's not satisfied with that answer. But is it, though? Because I've heard from people who've worked with you, and they paint a very different picture. They talk about someone who's exacting, demanding, someone who doesn't tolerate anything less than perfection from the people around her. That doesn't exactly match the bubbly, friendly persona we see in interviews. Reese's smile tightens. The mask is still in place, but there are cracks forming. "I think having standards and expecting professionalism from your collaborators isn't the same as being difficult. Kelly, I work hard. I expect others to work hard. If that makes me demanding, then I suppose I'm guilty as charged. But I don't think that's a bad thing." The audience is completely silent now. This is not what anyone came here expecting. Kelly presses on, and now there's an edge to her voice that wasn't there before. There's a difference between having standards and creating a hostile work environment, though, isn't there? I mean, we've all seen the reports, the stories from assistants, from crew members. At what point does perfectionism become toxic? Reese's composure finally cracks. Her voice gets sharper, more defensive. "I find it interesting that you're bringing this up now. Kelly, we've known each other for years, and you've never mentioned any of this before. Why now? What's really going on here?" Kelly sits back in her chair, and there's a moment where she seems to consider her next words carefully. "You want to know what's really going on? I'm tired of the pretense. I'm tired of sitting here interviewing people who I know aren't being real, who are selling a version of themselves that doesn't exist." You asked why now? Because I've decided I'm done playing along with the Hollywood game of make-believe. The audience is completely riveted. This has gone so far beyond a normal interview that nobody knows what to do. Reese looks directly at Kelly, and her voice is ice-cold when she speaks. "So what? You've decided to ambush me on your show? To try and tear me down to make yourself look brave and authentic? That's your play here." Kelly doesn't back down. "I'm not trying to tear you down, Reese. I'm trying to have a real conversation for once. Don't you get tired of it? The constant performance, the image management, the carefully curated version of yourself that you present to the world. Wouldn't it be refreshing to just be honest?" Reese laughs, but there's no humor in it. "Honest? You want honest? Fine, let's be honest. You're sitting here lecturing me about authenticity when your entire career is built on being the accessible, relatable every woman. But we both know that's just as much of a construction as anything I've built. You want to talk about pretense? Let's talk about how you've positioned yourself as this down-to-earth, regular person when you're worth millions and live in a bubble just like the rest of us. The tension in the studio is suffocating. Kelly's expression hardens, and when she speaks, her voice is steady, but you can hear the anger underneath. At least I acknowledge it. At least I don't pretend that I'm some kind of exception to the Hollywood machine. You've spent your entire career acting like you're different, like you're better than everyone else because you came from the South and you have a book club and you sell home goods. But it's all just another form of the same game. Reese stands up suddenly and the audience gasps. She's trembling slightly, whether from anger or something else, it's hard to tell. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. I came here to talk about my work, not to be psychoanalyzed and attacked by someone who's apparently dealing with their own issues about authenticity. Kelly stands too, and now they're face to face across the coffee table that separates them. Running away when things get uncomfortable. That's very authentic of you, Reese. Reese's voice drops to barely above a whisper, but the microphones pick it up perfectly. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what it takes to maintain any kind of privacy, any kind of real self in this industry. Yes, I'm careful about what I show the world. Yes, I have boundaries. That doesn't make me fake, Kelly. It makes me smart. Something you might want to consider before you burn every bridge you have in this town. Kelly's response is immediate and cutting. Maybe I'm tired of those bridges. Maybe I'm tired of pretending that we're all friends, that we're all in this together, when really we're all just competing for the same space, the same attention, the same validation. At least I'm willing to admit it. Reese grabs her bag from beside the chair, and the movement is sharp, definitive. You know what, Kelly? I hope this works out for you. I really do. I hope this new, authentic version of your show is everything you want it to be, but don't expect me to be part of it. Kelly crosses her arms, and there's something almost sad in her expression now, mixing with a defiance. I never expected you to be. That's kind of the point. The audience doesn't know whether to applaud or stay silent. Some people look uncomfortable, others look thrilled by the drama. Reese turns to walk off the set, and Kelly calls after her. Reese, wait. Reese stops, but doesn't turn around. Her shoulders are tense, her posture rigid. Kelly continues, this isn't personal. It's not about you specifically. It's about all of us, the whole system. Don't you ever want to just break free from it? Reese turns her head slightly, just enough that her profile is visible. Freedom isn't the same as destruction. Kelly, you're about to learn that the hard way. And with that, she walks off the set. Leaving Kelly standing there alone, the camera stays on Kelly's face, and you can see multiple emotions flickering across it. Kelly watches Reese disappear behind the stage curtain, and for a moment, she just stands there, the weight of what just happened settling over the studio like a heavy fog. The audience is frozen, unsure if they should react, unsure if this is even real or some kind of elaborate setup. But Kelly knows it's real. You can see it in the way she takes a breath, steadies herself, and then turns back to face the cameras and the people watching. She walks back to her chair, but doesn't sit down. Instead, she stands behind it, gripping the back with both hands like she needs something solid to hold on to. Well, she says, and her voice is different now, less sharp, more reflective. I guess that didn't go the way anyone expected. A few nervous laughs ripple through the audience, but mostly there's just confused silence. But before Kelly can continue, before she can try to smooth this over or explain or do whatever she was planning to do, Reese walks back onto the set. The audience gasps again, louder this time. Nobody expected this. Reese's face is flushed, her jaw set with determination, and she walks right up to where Kelly is standing. No, Reese says firmly. We're not doing this. We're not ending it like that. You want to have a real conversation, Kelly? Fine, let's have a real conversation. But you don't get to take shots at me and then act like you're doing something noble. You don't get to hide behind this crusade for authenticity while you're really just being cruel. Kelly's eyes widen slightly. She clearly didn't expect Reese to come back. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was trying to be honest. Reese cuts her off. Honest. You ambushed me. You brought up things you knew would put me on the defensive. Things you knew would make me look bad. And you did it in front of an audience and cameras. That's not honesty, Kelly. That's a hit job dressed up as enlightenment. Kelly's grip on the chair tightens. A hit job. That's what you think this is? Reese, I asked you legitimate questions about the disconnect between your public image and what people experience working with you. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should examine why. Reese steps closer, and the space between them shrinks to just a few feet. You want to talk about disconnect? Let's talk about how you invited me here under the pretense of a friendly interview to promote my project, and then you turned it into an interrogation. Let's talk about how you violated the basic trust that exists between a host and a guest. Because that's what you did, Kelly. You broke the rules that make these interviews possible in the first place. The audience is watching this unfold like it's a tennis match. Heads turning back and forth between the two women. Kelly's expression shifts, and there's a flash of something that might be guilt before it's replaced by defensiveness. Maybe those rules need to be broken. Maybe we've been playing nice for too long, protecting each other's images instead of actually talking about anything real. You're upset because I disrupted the system, but the system is broken. Reese laughs. And this time there's genuine emotion in it. Frustration and disbelief mixed together. The system is broken, so you decided to blow up my interview. That's your solution. You don't get to use me as a prop in your personal revolution. Kelly, you don't get to sacrifice my reputation on the altar of your newfound commitment to authenticity. Kelly moves out from behind the chair now, standing fully exposed in the middle of the set. I'm not sacrificing your reputation. I'm questioning whether the reputation you have is even based on reality. There's a difference. Reese's voice rises, and you can hear the anger she's been trying to contain finally breaking through. Based on reality, I've worked for 30 years in this industry. I've built production companies. I've created opportunities for other women. I've used my platform to advocate for things I believe in. That's reality, Kelly. That's not a construct. That's my actual life's work. And yes, I'm protective of my privacy. Yes, I have boundaries with people who work for me. Yes, I expect excellence because I've built my career on delivering it. None of that makes me a fraud. Kelly's voice matches Reese's intensity now. But you do realize that people are afraid of you, right? You realize that there are assistants and crew members who have left jobs because of how you treated them. That's not about having standards, Reese. That's about how you make people feel. Reese's hands ball into fists at her sides. You're talking about rumors and gossip, like they're facts. You're taking the word of anonymous sources and using them to attack me publicly. Do you have any idea how dangerous that is? How irresponsible? Kelly shakes her head, and there's frustration evident in every line of her body. They're not anonymous to me. I've talked to people. I've heard their stories directly. And they're not trying to destroy you, Reese. They're just hurt. They're confused about why someone who presents herself as kind and warm could make them feel so small. Reese's voice drops again, but the intensity doesn't diminish. So you decided to be their champion. You decided to air this out on television without giving me any warning, any chance to respond, any opportunity to address these concerns privately like a decent human being would do. You're not being brave, Kelly. You're being a bully. The word hangs in the air between them. Kelly recoils slightly, like she's been slapped. I'm not a bully. I'm trying to have a real conversation about the costs of fame, about what we sacrifice and who we hurt in the process of protecting our images. Reese steps even closer, and now they're almost toe-to-toe. Then have that conversation about yourself. Examine your own life, your own choices, your own impact on the people around you. Don't use me as your case study. Don't put me on trial to make yourself feel better about whatever crisis of conscience you're having. Kelly's eyes are bright now, and her voice wavers slightly when she speaks. This isn't about making myself feel better. This is about being tired of the lies. All the lies we tell ourselves and each other. Don't you ever get tired of it, Reese? Don't you ever want to just stop performing? Reese's expression softens for just a moment, and in that moment you can see something real pass between them. Something that acknowledges the truth in what Kelly is saying, even if the method is all wrong. But then the walls come back up, and Reese's voice is steel again. Performing isn't the same as lying. I perform in my movies, and then I go home, and I'm a mother and a friend and a person with a private life. The fact that I don't share every aspect of that private life with the world doesn't make me dishonest. It makes me sane. Kelly runs a hand through her hair, and she looks suddenly exhausted. But where's the line, Reese? Where's the line between protecting your privacy and constructing an entirely false persona? Because from where I'm standing, You've crossed it. Reese's laugh is sharp and bitter. From where you're standing, Kelly, you've known me for years. We've been at the same events, the same parties, the same industry functions. If you really believed I was this terrible person, this fake construct, why did you wait until I was sitting on your show to say something? Why not call me privately? Why not pull me aside at one of those parties and have this conversation like an adult? Kelly opens her mouth to respond, then closes it again. For the first time in this entire exchange, she seems genuinely at a loss for words. Reese presses her advantage. You know why? Because this isn't really about me at all. This is about you wanting to make a statement, wanting to position yourself as different from everyone else in daytime television. And you decided to use me to do it. Kelly finds her voice again, and there's a desperation in it now. That's not fair. Yes, I want to do something different with this show. Yes, I'm tired of the superficial conversations that don't mean anything. But I brought this up with you specifically because I thought you, of all people, would understand. I thought you might actually engage with the question instead of just deflecting. Reese stares at her for a long moment. And something shifts in her expression. The anger is still there, but underneath it there's something else now, something more complex. You thought I would understand? Kelly, you attacked me on national television. You brought up unverified claims about my character and expected me to what? Thank you for the opportunity to defend myself. That's not understanding. That's naivety at best and manipulation at worst. Kelly's face flushes, and she takes a step back, creating a small amount of distance between them. I didn't think of it as an attack. I thought of it as finally asking the questions that everyone thinks but nobody says out loud. Isn't that valuable? Isn't there something worthwhile in pushing past the surface-level pleasantries? Reese crosses her arms, and her posture becomes more closed off, more defensive. There's a difference between depth and ambush. Kelly, if you wanted to have a meaningful conversation about the pressures of fame, about the difficulty of maintaining authenticity in Hollywood, you could have approached me beforehand. You could have said, here's what I want to talk about. Are you willing to engage with this? That would have been respectful. That would have been real. Instead, you blindsided me, and now you're acting like I'm the problem for not reacting the way you wanted. Kelly's jaw clenches, and you can see her struggling with something internally. When she speaks, her voice is quieter, but no less intense. Maybe I didn't give you warning because I knew you'd say no. I knew you'd want to control the narrative, script your responses, make sure everything stayed within your comfort zone. And that's exactly the problem I'm talking about. When do we ever get to see the real you, Reese? When do you ever let your guard down? Reese's eyes flash with anger again. The brief moment of potential understanding completely evaporated. My guard? You want to talk about guards? Everyone in this industry has guards, Kelly. Everyone, including you. The difference is, I'm honest about mine. I don't pretend that doing one supposedly brave interview makes me some kind of truth teller. You're hiding behind this crusade for authenticity. But really, you're just as calculated as anyone else. You just want your calculation to look like spontaneity. The audience shifts uncomfortably. This has gone on longer than anyone expected, and the tension shows no signs of diffusing. Kelly's voice rises again, frustration bleeding through every word. That's not true. I'm trying to change something here. I'm trying to have real conversations instead of just promotional fluff. If that makes me calculated, then fine. I'm calculated. But at least I'm trying to do something different, something that matters. Reese shakes her head slowly, and there's something almost pitying in her expression now. You think this matters? You think ambushing your guests and creating conflict matters? Kelly, the only thing this does is ensure that nobody will trust you again. Nobody will come on this show expecting a fair shake. You've burned your credibility in the name of some misguided attempt at realness. Kelly's hands shake slightly, and she clasps them together to steady them. Maybe that's a price I'm willing to pay. Maybe I'd rather have a show that means something, even if it costs me in the short term, than keep doing the same vapid interviews over and over again. Reese takes a deep breath, and when she speaks again, her voice is lower, more controlled, but somehow more cutting because of it. You want to know what I think, Kelly? I think you're having some kind of crisis. I think something has happened in your life or your career that's made you question everything. And instead of dealing with that privately, instead of working through it like an adult, you've decided to blow up your show and take other people down with you. That's not brave. That's reckless and selfish. Kelly's face goes pale, and for a moment she looks like she might cry, but she blinks rapidly and holds it together, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't know anything about what I'm going through. Reese's expression softens slightly, just a fraction, but her words remain firm. You're right, I don't. And do you know why? Because we're not actually friends, Kelly. We're colleagues. We're professionals who see each other at industry events and are cordial to each other. But we're not close. So the fact that you're using my interview to work through whatever you're dealing with personally, that's inappropriate. It's unprofessional. And it's hurtful. Kelly looks down at the floor, and the silence stretches out for several long seconds. When she looks back up, there are tears in her eyes, but her voice is steady. You're right. You're absolutely right. We're not friends. And maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe that's why all of this feels so empty. Because we're all just pretending to care about each other when really we're all just using each other for career advancement. Reese uncrosses her arms, and her posture relaxes slightly. That's a cynical way to look at it. Yes, there's a professional component to our relationships, but that doesn't mean there can't also be genuine respect, genuine kindness. You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. Kelly, you're so focused on exposing what you see as fake that you're destroying anything real in the process. Kelly wipes at her eyes quickly, trying to maintain some composure. I just wanted to do something that mattered. I'm so tired of feeling like nothing I do makes any real difference. These interviews, they all blend together. Nobody remembers them. Nobody cares. I wanted to create something that people would actually talk about, something that would spark real conversation. Reese's voice is gentler now, but still firm. Well, you've certainly created something people will talk about. But at what cost? You've humiliated me. You've damaged your own reputation. And for what? A viral moment. Some social media buzz. That's not meaning, Kelly. That's just noise. Kelly looks directly at Reese, and there's a rawness in her expression that hasn't been there before. Then what is meaning? Tell me, because I genuinely don't know anymore. How do you keep doing this, year after year, interview after interview, and feel like any of it matters? Reese is quiet for a moment, considering the question seriously. You find meaning in the small things, in actually connecting with someone, even if it's brief, in making someone laugh or helping them feel seen. Not everything has to be revolutionary, Kelly. Sometimes just being kind, just being present, that's enough. Kelly's voice cracks slightly, but it doesn't feel like enough. Not anymore. Reese takes a step closer, and her voice is almost gentle now. Then maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to step back and figure out what you really want, instead of trying to force some kind of transformation that you're not ready for. There's no shame in that. Kelly shakes her head. I can't take a break. I have a contract. I have a staff that depends on me. I have commitments. Reese gives her a long look. And I have a reputation that you just tried to destroy on national television. So forgive me if I don't have a lot of sympathy for your scheduling conflicts. The moment of softness evaporates, and the tension snaps back into place. Kelly's expression hardens again. I wasn't trying to destroy your reputation. I was trying to examine it. There's a difference. Reese's voice goes cold. Not from where I'm standing, and not from where anyone watching this is standing. You made a choice today, Kelly. You chose conflict over conversation. You chose spectacle over substance. And now you're going to have to live with the consequences of that choice. Kelly straightens her shoulders, and some of her earlier defiance returns. Maybe I will. Maybe the consequences will be worth it if it means finally breaking through all the artifice and pretense that surrounds everything we do. Reese picks up her bag again, and this time the movement is final, definitive. Or maybe you'll just end up alone, having alienated everyone who might have actually cared about you. All in the name of some abstract concept of authenticity that you don't even fully understand yourself. Kelly's voice is barely audible. Maybe that's a risk I have to take. Reese nods slowly, and there's sadness in her eyes now, mixed with the anger and frustration. Then take it. But leave me out of it. I didn't sign up to be collateral damage in your personal journey of self-discovery. She turns to leave again, and this time Kelly doesn't call her back. The studio is completely silent, except for the sound of Reese's heels clicking against the floor as she walks toward the exit. Just before she reaches the curtain, she pauses and turns back one last time. For what it's worth, Kelly, I hope you find what you're looking for. I really do. But I hope you also learn that tearing other people down isn't the same as building yourself up." And then she's gone, disappearing behind the curtain, leaving Kelly standing alone on the set once again. The camera holds on Kelly's face, and you can see everything playing across it. Regret, defiance, uncertainty, determination, all warring for dominance. Finally, she turns to face the audience, takes a deep breath, and speaks directly to the camera. "Well," she says, her voice steady despite everything that just happened, "I guess that's all the time we have today." The audience doesn't know whether to applaud or stay silent, and the uncertainty hangs in the air as the show cuts to commercial, leaving everyone wondering what just happened and what it all means. So there you have it. An interview that started as standard promotion and ended with one of Hollywood's biggest stars walking off the set not once but twice. What do you think?